Welcome everyone to our panel, and thanks for joining us today. We have a great chat for you, fireside chat for you. So let me just jump right into it with introducing our panelists. So first, we have Bill Simmons from The Ringer, who will be joining us a little bit later. Additionally, joining us a little bit later, Rhea and Fran from Chicks in the Office, which is a Barstool sports podcast. And then my main guest of honor right here beside me, or virtually beside me, Kevin Welsh, a senior manager from Molson Coors Beverage Company. And Kevin oversees all of the podcasting efforts at Molson Coors. So he's the perfect person to talk about the subject today. So thank you, Kevin, for joining today.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I'm honored to be here, and I wish we could do this in person over a nice cold Molson Coors product. Unfortunately, it's not possible right now.
Not possible now, but we will have that beer down the road. I mentioned at the beginning of this that we have a jam-packed agenda. You know, we want to hit on all the key topics. Now, one of my favorite things from panels is to be able to do a little Q&A with the audience, and we won't be able to do that today. However, we have a special treat for everyone that we'll mention, and I'll save that as a teaser for the end of today's conference panel. So, but just jumping into it, I just wanted to ask, why is Molson Coors placing a big bet on the podcast space?
It's a great question. As a company, as we look to recruit new drinkers, we know that we need to diversify our channel mix and work as a brand in a very cluttered, competitive environment. We need to find ways to break through the clutter. And when you look at the media landscape, it's more fragmented than ever. And we know that consumers choose to consume content when and where they want it. And as a company, Molson Coors Beverage Company is really, our marketing vision is really around building brands that people want to hang out with. And within that, building brands that people really care about and driving that connection between our brands and the consumers. And we feel like podcasts do that for a lot of different reasons. When you talk about consumers expecting content on demand, we know that podcasts are probably the biggest opt-in medium there is right now. And they can get them whenever and wherever they want. We also know that our brands need to break through the clutter. And we know the consumers trust endorsements. They trust the word of mouth of the podcasters that they listen to. And we feel that podcasters can drive that emotional connection that's going to resonate for our brands. Additionally, we know that the current advertising world we live in, all the advertising, or much of the most effective advertising we have out there, is short snippet content, whether it's 6-second, 15-second content. We feel that podcasts are a great place to really tell our brand story in a more prolonged effort. And then last but not least, we know that cross-platform effectiveness is really key in terms of driving frequency of message with our consumer. And we know the different content environments where we need to lean in to drive that frequency with our consumer. So it really is a combination of a lot of different efforts, but more than anything, we see it as a space to really break through the clutter in a meaningful way in a very competitive category. And that's not only for our iconic brands like Miller Lite and Coors Light, but it's also for, we feel like it's a great way to launch brands with brands like Vizzy, which is a new hard seltzer entrant in 2020, and Coors Seltzer as well. When we decided that we wanted to move into the space, we knew we wanted to do it with impact. And that's why we're partnering with Ad Results. It's because we know they're leaders in the space, they're experts in the space. And if we're going to move into a space with impact, we want to do it with someone that knows the space and can guide us there in a meaningful way.
Fantastic. And yeah, you mentioned a key word that I always hear when advertisers are talking about podcasting is trust. And I personally believe, from my own experiences, and as well as what I hear from outside, is that with the reason why everyone trusts these podcasters is because they're being authentic when they're talking through podcast, and you have a long form with a lot of these like, instead of having these short snippets of quick interviews or a picture or something, they're really discussing their personal life, or they're diving deep into whatever topic it is. And that authenticity about those topics not only come out in the content, but when they talk about when they do an actual advertisement, you hear that authenticity as well and really are able to connect with that as a consumer.
Yeah, I think that's totally true. I think the consumer, or the current day consumer, can see through the BS, and they understand when an advertiser is being real with them, and they can actually identify advertising very quickly. And so when we partner with podcasters, we want them to be authentic. We want them to have an authentic story about our brand, because we feel like that's the way to best resonate with those consumers.
Yeah, absolutely. And, who better to speak about authenticity than one of Molson Coors for Miller Lite podcasters in Bill Simmons. So let us throw it over to Bill. And Bill, why don't you give us a little background on authenticity?
They wanted me to talk about authenticity. And that's something that's really important to me. And I think especially if you host a podcast, it is really hard to pretend to be somebody you're not. My podcasts are going 2 hours sometimes, and people are trapped. They're listening. You want them to feel like they're a fly in the wall to the conversation you're having. And it's really hard to fake that. Nobody is that good of an actor. So I think when you talk about relationships with different sponsors, I'm always drawn to the ones that are products or whatever that I actually use in my real life or I have some experience with. So Miller Lite's a great example. Miller Lite is my favorite beer dating back to college. I don't want to know how many I've had over the years, but I have a real connection to them. You even have like this picture, which you can see, but this Celtics poster, the Miller Lite ads when I was growing up, as a kid who loved basketball in the 80s, and Miller Lite was using these different ex-athletes and even a couple times relatively current athletes. And I was just like, that's my kind of beer. So the chance to talk about that on my podcast has been really good. And when you're doing a podcast, people don't want to have to fast forward over the ads. They're just going to listen to them. They're going to hope you can make them entertaining. And that's been a challenge that we've accepted at The Ringer. If you have a half-minute read or a full-minute read, make it interesting, at least sound like you're not reading a script. And if you have a chance to incorporate some personal experience into it, you got to do it. So for me, Miller Lite is super easy. It's a product that I've always enjoyed, but that's the kind of stuff we gravitate toward. And I think if you have a brand, a personal brand, or a brand that's attached to a company, you want to seem authentic. And you can't seem authentic. You either are or you aren't. It's not something you can practice. So I think that's been a huge advantage for me having a podcast the last 13 years. And I think that's one of the reasons we've been able to have so many good sponsorships and different relationships in the business community. Thanks to Ad Results Media and Molson Coors for including me in today's panel. And now back to two of apparently my biggest fans and the host of the panel, Kevin and Steve.
That was awesome, Bill. Thanks for doing that for us. And now everybody knows that I'm such a big Bill Simmons fan. I'm going to probably have to have a few drinks with Bill the next time I see him. So I'm looking forward to that, and then let him rib me a little bit about it. But yeah, that was a great overall talk on why authenticity and what authenticity means to Bill. And you can see that's a pretty good representation, in my opinion, of how a lot of podcasters believe that authenticity speaks to them. So like within our partnership with Bill and everything you see, like what do you take from that, Kevin?
I really think you hit the nail on the head. He's obviously a great storyteller, which is why we wanted to partner with him in the first place. But once we started talking to him, and once we started talking to a lot of the podcasters we talk to, and we find out that they're fans of our brands, it really really inspires us to get involved with them. And that's what we want from that's what we want from the podcasters. We want podcasters that are genuine fans of our brands, because that really comes off in the way they talk about our brands in a tangible way. I spoke a little bit earlier about the strength of word of mouth and what we feel like that does for our brands. And we know that listeners of these podcasts are really true rabid fans, and they're going to take the recommendations of the podcasters when they're speaking about our brand. So it's important that they're genuinely excited about our brands. And those stories he was telling about his Miller Lite poster and being a drinker for all these years, and tying it back to the fabric of what his podcast is all about, and is exactly what we're looking for. And it's the authenticity we seek to deliver across most of our partnerships.
Yeah, and that authenticity and trust. I mean, when you hear Bill talk about that and reflect on stories, it just comes across so smoothly. It really almost doesn't come across like an ad. It comes across as a friend telling another friend, hey, this is my drink of choice. This is why I like it. These are the great memories that I've created with it. You guys should be creating those same great memories, or whatever, even if it's not, a Molson Coors beverage, whatever it is, like, you want to make sure that host is speaking to something that they really want and enjoy. And him speaking about Miller Lite there, you can really sense and feel it, that authenticity, and it drives such a positive, connection with the brand because of it.
Yep. It's really special. You can almost sense that he's having friends over to his house that night, and he's going to open up his fridge and there's going to be cold Miller Lite there to drink.
No, absolutely. And I mean, that's another thing, at our firm, Ad Results Media, like, we're always focusing on those relationships. I mean, there's thousands of podcasters out there, with not just Bill, but with any podcaster. You want to make sure that relationship, that authenticity comes across, that connection comes across. And Bill is just, one of them that does an absolute fantastic job. And again, now everyone in the universe now knows we're huge Bill Simmons fans. So we'll have to have a drink with him over that, and then have a good laugh when we can. But another great thing with podcast, we see it a lot with Barstool Sports, is really that 360 integration. And one of Barstool's largest podcasts, Chicks in the Office, we work with them in so many ways with Coors. And I just wanted, to get your opinion on it, on what that relationship looks like, and really kind of all of the ways that we're able to work with Chicks in the Office. Yeah.
I talked a little bit about the fragmented media environment. And one thing that we really believe at Molson Coors is the power of personality driven media. And when you think about podcasts, it all starts with the personalities. But when I, as a listener, go to listen to a podcast, I'm not just engaging with that. I'm likely not just engaging with that podcaster in my ear. I'm also following them on their social page. I'm watching videos of them, watching live events they're doing, whether virtual or actually attending in person. And so when we look at the podcast space, we really are looking to build meaningful partnerships that are cross-platform, and deliver that audience, and not just audio, but also everywhere where that podcaster is showing up. Because our belief is this personality-driven media, it's sticky media, and it's going to drive that sticky attentiveness from our consumer. It's really going to break through the clutter.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's throw it to Fran and Rhea to go through what this partnership looks like. And then from there, we can come back and discuss.
Hey everyone, I'm Rhea. And I'm Fran. And we're Chicks in the Office from Barstool Sports. We just wanted to talk to you guys about how much we love working with Coors. Coors Lite, Coors Seltzer. Coors Lite initially opened up so many doors for us. This partnership has been amazing. Without Coors Lite, we wouldn't have gone to Denver. We wouldn't have interviewed the Jonas Brothers, which is probably one of our biggest content moments of all time. And Coors Lite was along the way with us every step. Not even just the biggest content moment, the biggest moment of our lives was interviewing the Jonas Brothers at the Coors Brewery. We drank Coors all day with them, and we have been loving Coors ever since. Especially, we talk about it on the podcast. We talk about it on Instagram. We're talking about it all over the place. And our fans want to enjoy what we enjoy. And I feel like because of Coors' motto, made to chill.
That's us.
We love chilling. People love chilling. They want to drink Coors.
Exactly. It's so easy for us to talk about Coors Light and Coors Seltzer because we love these products, and our listeners can tell when we're being authentic, when we really love something. And it's easy, made to chill, or even Coors Seltzer with their volunteer program of saying, you drink a Coors Seltzer, you're saving America's rivers. Who doesn't want to do that? Let's save the environment. And that's what makes us so unique, because we are able to advertise this very seamlessly into everything we do. It becomes natural. People hear us talking about it, and all of a sudden they want to try it. It doesn't sound forced. They don't think we're forcing anything on them. We genuinely enjoy it.
Right. It fits perfectly into the content where it doesn't even seem like an ad. Thank you to Ad Results Media and Molson Coors for including us in this panel. Cheers to you guys.
Back to you, Kevin and Steve.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rhea and Fran. That was fantastic. And in my opinion, perfectly showed some of the great parts of this relationship with Coors. So Kevin, what do you think about what they discussed there?
Yeah, I mean, it really truly is a first-class partnership. And I know I mentioned sticky environments, and we really love partnering with a brand like Chicks in the Office and Barstool, because we know how much their audience leans into any content they put out, whether it's on a podcast or through a video with the Jonas Brothers. And I didn't even mention before, but being able to get product in the podcaster's hands to not only show them drinking it and enjoying it, but also to get their real and honest opinion and endorsement out to our consumers is really, really awesome as part of this, as part of the way we lean into podcasts.
Yeah, absolutely. And it, again, just bleeds right into authenticity. So if you don't try the product or the service, how can you really speak to it that well? So I think it also, ties into some of, we've been focusing so much on the trust side, the authenticity side. Something we're not really talking about much is really like how how the consumer is engaging with it and like connecting, and how we do things a certain way to make sure that it's as well weaved and integrated into that storytelling process. And even like with our own panel today, we, did something that we'll see a lot of podcasts do, which we had them fall in kind of a middle of certain areas, which is traditionally what we call a mid-roll. And some of our best practices are purchasing these mid-rolls and longer integrated mid-rolls, because that allows you to get deeply involved with the story. That allows the consumer to as you're listening to, you're already committed to something. And again, it comes off as natural. So, that's just one of the many components that we'll try to do from best practices standpoint.
Yeah, definitely. And that's really part of the power of our partnership with Ad Results is we know that they're going to deliver first in class research and also best practices in the space, whether that's the placement of our ads, grading the power of the endorsement, really working on our behalf to drive efficiency and effectiveness in the space. Those are all elements that we really, really see that we hear a lot in the media world. Is it's a melding of art and science, and we feel that definitely is the case when you look at the podcast space.
Yeah, and we spent a ton of time on the art today, and I think the science, and the numbers and the measurements, you almost throw that out the door, because if you're not going to do the art component right, then you might as well not even focus on any of the other areas, because who cares? They need to blend together perfectly for this to work. So if you're not focusing on the relationships, the authenticity, that trust, kind of how you want to put it all together, then again, none of that other stuff matters. But we could probably have spent an entire panel covering all this measurement and how we do it and what we do. And I want to make sure, I mentioned at the real beginning, I teased that one of my favorite components of all panels is really being able to do a Q&A with the audience, because we want to make sure that we're answering those questions. Well, we can go deep into certain topics. Like we really want to make sure that if there's certain questions that we're able to answer. So you and I are going to be back in action. We're coming back the week of November 16th. We're going to finalize a time. We're going to have a webinar, and we're going to put it up as a podcast.
Can't wait.
We're going to take, I can't wait for it either, but we'll do it virtual again. So we won't do it in person, but we want to hear from everyone out there. So I'm going to give you my email, steve@adresultsmedia.com. Feel free to send and just put in the subject headline, Molson Coors webinar. Ask us your questions. We'll pull them all together. We'll cover them in the webinar. Even if you don't have questions, still attend the webinar. We're going to have some live Q&A in that as well. And really go deeper into all of this. But But this was fantastic. Again, thank you, Bill. Thank you, Rhea and Fran. Our partnerships with The Ringer, with Barstool Sports have all been fantastic. You know, they all do an awesome job bringing out either the best in Miller Lite, Coors Light, now Coors Seltzer. This is whether it's a legacy brand or a new innovative brand that Molson Coors is doing, like, you know, they're doing a fantastic job bringing those things to life. And I also want to thank again, my main guest of honor, Kevin. Thank you so much for talking about what podcasting means to your company, what it means to you, and really kind of providing your insights for other brands out there and all companies out there of really how to take advantage and utilize this space really well.
Thanks a lot, Steve. Yeah, we really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys. And of course, we appreciate the partnership. We're looking forward to continue to forge through with real impact in the podcasting space.
Awesome. And thank you to IAB as well. This is a fantastic conference. So everyone, thank you. And we'll hopefully see you soon at our webinar. Take care.
Cheers.